the hot topic at this point in time is talking about the economy. At last week's press conference, the Prime Minister made the announcement that we are currently in a recession. And everybody is all eyes on different numbers and figures at this point in time. As the leader of the opposition, what is your take on this announcement being made?
Well, certainly it was no news to anybody on the streets because they were already telling you that things were getting worse, that the economy was slowing down. I remember way back during the budget debate, I alerted the Prime Minister on this issue. I was telling him free zone was that they were already telling me that the sales were going down by 50%. He said, no, it's over 100 million has been going down. That the tourism industry was going to contract by about 50 million, which is about 10%. According to the Statistical Institute of Belize, it's 19.9%. And that because of all of these, the revenues that government is going to collect is going to be less than what he expected. I was pointing out that citrus was going to go down. Sugar were going to be in trouble, that because we're not increasing the production in sugar, and bananas and the list. We were pointing out that there was going to be a shortfall in our export about $100 million. I also pointed out that foreign direct investments was going to drop by about 50% from about $360 million to about $180 million. So we alerted the Prime Minister, but he did nothing. Continue his gravelicious ways, continuing to pick fight with the private sector, and continue to run the government almost like a one-man band, without really consultations. It is obvious that this government does not have a cohesive plan, that there is a lack of talent in the cabinet, that we have a government where the Prime Minister is going to tell you something, you go to the minister, he tells you something different, and their policymakers are going to act something totally different, so there's no cohesion within the government. We know now that there is a lack of confidence in the Belizean economy. When you have a government as this present government that comes in and continue to operate in this opposition mode, just fighting with everybody, it's certainly not going to help. When you're going to have a government that believes that, okay, if I can frighten you into submission, well, then what I do is strong away from you. I'm going to change the laws. I'm going to take away what you have. I'm sure the first thing that comes to mind is BTL, but let's forget about BTL, which is the biggest one that to jump to mind. But look at the issue of land. Here we have a government and the Prime Minister claiming to be one of the finest attorneys in this country should know better that you have a new minister coming in and says, well, you know what, the previous ministry signed? No good. Your title? No good. Your leases that you have? No good. So what is going to happen with that? It creates an uncertainty that people are saying, well, I'm not going to buy land in this country if I'm going to invest in a hotel because the next government might decide that I'm not going to accept those titles. But more importantly, the banks. I was speaking to a gentleman from the private sector, and he was saying, we don't have a stock exchange, but our stock exchange is land, whereby you get your piece of land and you sell it to this person, that person sell it to the other one. We leverage that, and it creates capital. I mean, Mr. De Soto, a famous Peruvian economist, was the first that pointed out that land creates wealth for people, and that's what we believe. That is why we were giving land in the hands of Belizeans. We issued over 65,000 titles and leases during my time, in the 9 years that I was in government. But now the banks say, well, I'm not sure if this is still good because this government might decide that it's not good, so you prepare a mortgage for a paper that's worthless. So that lack of confidence, made things even worse. There's this complete lack of a plan as to how we're going to go forward is starting to affect this country, and unfortunately all of us are paying the price.
Now, when you're talking about the economy beyond the politics of it, the excuse that, or the sentiment, I won't say excuse, the sentiment that it's just a global issue right now. There's nothing that can be done, and it's just a matter of time.
Please, William, look at the facts. We all knew that this was happening, this global recession. It's nothing new. But the Prime Minister in his budget presentation said that Belize was going to be spared. He said it's there in the records, that Belize was going to be spared because he's going for broke. Or they're going for broke because now the country is broke. But our government went through the same thing. People don't remember that. Oil was at $18 when we started off. By the time we left, it was at $120 a barrel. There was, remember, the global crisis when the Iraq war started off, that tourism went down. We did something about that. We had 4 storms. Remember when it hit San Pedro and down south? And within months, we had San Pedro working. Within months, we had Placencia going. So we went through the very same things, but we did not say, oh, there's nothing we can do, tighten, and just make we pray to God that probably in the next 2 years, because the Prime Minister has already told us that next year is going to be just as bad. We came with a plan and decided how we are going to turn things around. This government does not have the plan, and that is the problem. And confidence is one of the most important non-tangible assets that a government or a country can have. What is happening to us, William, Marlene, is that we have a government that is being managed by bookkeepers. Now, nothing wrong with bookkeepers because, they aren't trying to hold on to every penny and every dollar and say, oh, we have it in the bank, it's safe. But every businessman will tell you that you have to have your plan and that you have to lead with confidence. You have to have your vision as to what is it that you want to do in your business, or in this case, with the country. The Prime Minister needs to be the chief cheerleader for this country, the optimist, like, for instance, President Obama, who is going through a very difficult time in the United States, but he comes across with this optimism that this can-do spirit, and the American people continue to give him that support. But here our Prime Minister comes to us and says, oh, we're in a recession, things bad, we don't collect, and continuously to blame everybody but himself. He blamed the world economy, he blamed the business sector, he blamed the tax cheaters, he blamed the people that can't collect the tax, he blamed the public service, but the blame rests on him. As the Prime Minister, he needs to lead, and that's not happening right now.